This was the T-34, a Soviet tank so ahead of its time that it shocked the Wehrmacht into redesigning its entire armored doctrine. But behind its legendary status was a story of innovation, desperation, and industrial grit forged in the chaos of war and born from lessons learned in the dust of Spain. Today we'll explore how the T-34 was created, why it dominated the battlefield in 1941, and how it evolved into one of the most influential tanks in military history. The T-34 tank, the Soviet armored legend of World War II, developed between 1937 and 1943. A German Pak anti-tank gun crew spots a Soviet tank approaching through the haze of battle. The experienced gunners calmly calculate range, adjust their sights, load a 37mm shell, and fire. The round strikes the tank's armor, but when the smoke clears, the vehicle keeps moving forward. Confused, the crew reloads and fires again. Once more, the shell bounces off without effect. Panic spreads as the massive steel machine crushes their gun beneath its tracks, the unstoppable T-34. The new Soviet tank that stunned the Wehrmacht in June 1941. The origins of the T-34 trace back to 1936, when the Spanish Civil War revealed the power of armored warfare. The Soviet Union sent about 50 T-26 tanks to support the Republicans fighting Italian CV-35s and German Panzer Is. The first tank battles in Spain showed that the T-26's armor and 45mm gun easily outclassed its lighter opponents. Its main gun, adapted from an anti-tank weapon, could pierce the enemy's thin armor with ease. Soviet tanks dominated the battlefield, destroying all Axis-supplied vehicles and proving the importance of superior firepower and armor. Reports to Moscow praised the tank's effectiveness even with inexperienced crews and limited infantry coordination. Later, against Germany's new 37mm Pak 36 guns, the T-26 and BT tanks suffered heavy losses, exposing their thin armor and weak engines. To solve this, engineers at the Kharkov Factory No. 183 began designing a new model, the A-20, based on the BT-7 but with wider tracks and sloped armor for better protection. Chief Engineer Mikhail Koshkin rejected the A-20's wheel track system and proposed a stronger design, the A-32, with 30mm armor and a 76.2mm gun, the first step toward the T-34. In 1939, tests the A-32 outperformed the A-20. Armor was thickened to 45mm, and a simpler F-32 gun fitted. Two prototypes drove 750 km from Kharkov to Moscow to prove their reliability. Koshkin fell ill with pneumonia during the trials and died soon after leaving Alexander Morozov to continue his work. In March 1940, after a demonstration before Stalin, mass production of the T-34 was approved. A new chapter in tank warfare had begun. When Germany invaded in June 1941, the Red Army had over 23,000 tanks, but most were outdated T-26 and BT models unfit for modern war. Early battles were disastrous. German panzer divisions, better trained and coordinated, destroyed Soviet units with ease. On June 23, 1941, German troops met the new T-34 for the first time. Their shells ricocheted harmlessly from its sloped armor. Lacking supplies, spare parts, and armor-piercing ammunition, Soviet crews still fought on with determination. Only the German 88mm flak gun had enough power to penetrate the T-34's armor and stop its advance. Soviet tactics and communication were poor, and Luftwaffe air superiority cost many T-34s to bombs and Stuka dives despite their strong armor. Of roughly 1,000 T-34s at the start of Operation Barbarossa, only a few survived the first months of fighting. Many were abandoned or destroyed due to mechanical failures and poor crew training. Even when tanks could be repaired, spare parts and logistics were non-existent after Luftwaffe bombings wiped out supply depots in Western Russia. Soviet industry focused on tank production rather than maintenance. Shortages and bureaucracy meant not all T-34s received the newer F-34 gun. As autumn rains turned roads into oceans of mud, German vehicles bogged down, while the T-34's wide tracks and diesel engine gave it unmatched mobility across the Rasputitsa. Colonel Mikhail Katakov's 4th Tank Brigade, with only 22 T-34s, took positions near Tula to defend the approaches to Moscow. In October 1941, near Mtsensk, Soviet T-34s ambushed the German 2nd Panzer Army from the forest flanks, destroying dozens of tanks and halting their advance, proving the T-34's superiority. The T-34 then became crucial in the Soviet counteroffensive near Moscow that winter, its mobility allowing white-painted tanks to charge through snow with infantry riding on top. By 1942, new German weapons such as the Tiger, Panzer IV F2, Stug 3F, and the Pak 40 anti-tank gun appeared, designed specifically to counter the T-34's dominance. Soviet engineers responded by simplifying production for mass output, introducing a cast turret, thicker 45mm side armor, new driver hatches, and handrails for riding troops. The Stalingrad tractor factory became a key producer, even assembling T-34s during the city's siege, whose freshly built tanks fired directly from the factory at advancing Germans. In early 1943, the T-34 received a major update. A new hexagonal Mickey Mouse turret with dual hatches, improved visibility, and external fuel tanks for extended range. That summer, the T-34 spearheaded Soviet forces at the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history, marking the turning point on the Eastern Front. The T-34's 76.2mm gun, sloped armor, and strong diesel engine provided the perfect balance of mobility, firepower, and protection for its 26-ton weight. Compared with the Panzer I, II, III, and the IV, the T-34 easily outclassed all early German tanks in both armor and penetration capability. Despite its strengths, the T-34 was not flawless. The crew compartment was cramped and visibility was poor for the commander. Lacking a commander's cupola, battlefield awareness was limited, reducing coordination in fast-moving engagements. Rapid wartime production caused quality control issues with inconsistent materials and mechanical defects across factories. Engineers struggled to maintain standards while relocating tank production to the Urals to avoid German capture of Western plants. Combat feedback pushed for improvements, better guns, armor, and engines, but production had to remain fast and simple. In 1942, a shortage of rubber led to all-steel road wheels, increasing noise and wear, but keeping production going. The new hexagonal turret, derived from the planned T-34M design, offered more space and protection and simplified manufacturing. Cylindrical fuel tanks replaced the old rectangular type, increasing range, while new German long-barreled 75mm and 88mm guns forced the Soviets to consider future upgrades. The T-34 emerged as one of the most influential tanks in history. Its design shaped modern armored warfare and helped turn the tide of World War II. Behind the legend of the T-34 lies a story written in staggering numbers. Over 84,000 T-34s of all variants were produced during World War II, more than any other tank in history. At its peak, Soviet factories were churning out 100-200 tanks per month, even as German bombs rained down on cities like Stalingrad. The T-34's 45-degree sloped 45mm frontal armor effectively doubled its protection, equivalent to over 90mm of vertical steel, rendering early German 37mm and 50mm guns nearly useless. And while German factories took months to build a single Tiger, the Soviets could assemble a T-34 in under 8 hours by 1943. These numbers weren't just statistics, they were the difference between collapse and counteroffensive, between defeat and victory on the Eastern Front. The T-34 proved that in total, war quantity with quality wins, if you appreciate history told through hard data and real battlefield impact. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because the numbers don't lie, but they do tell incredible stories.